All right. I think we're live. Mic check 1 2 1 2. Mic check 1 2 1 2. If anyone in the chat can hear me, just get just push one. All right, I got a confirmation. Thank you for the confirmation, Rainy Woman and Jamal Williams. Welcome back to the Black Brain Trust. This is episode 385, Economics. Please hit the like button as you come in. Share the video if possible. Hit that notification bell so you get all the updates from the Black Brain Trust, including those posted on the community tab. It's a docket and description beneath the video for you to follow along with. Just as an FYI, we are not certified financial planners. If you're looking for a certified financial planner, go to cfp.net and look up one in your area. We do not give out financial advice on this channel. Let me get to the first item on the docket. Interesting. All right, let me try this. If you want to get on the panel and engage in the discussion, there will be a link in the chat. When you click on the link, make sure you raise your hand so that one of us can acknowledge you and advance you to the panel. All right. Get to the first item on the docket. All right, this one is from CNN.com. A woman lied on her resume to land a $185,000 a year job. Now she's going to jail. A woman who lied on her resume and faked glowing references to land a high-paying job with an Australian regional government has been sentenced to at least a year in prison. Wow. Veronica Hilda Thoreau, 46, was convicted Tuesday of deception, dishonesty, and abuse of public office relating to her 2017 application for the Chief Information Officer role, which came with an annual salary of 270,000 Australian dollars, $185,000 US. Thoreau worked in the position with South Australia's Department of the Premier and Cabinet for over a month and earned about 33,000 Australian dollars before being fired, 22,500 US dollars. She pleaded guilty to all charges and received a 25-month sentence with a non-parole period of a year. The court heard that she submitted a fraudulent resume to the department with false information relating to her education and prior employment. After she was granted an interview, she also posed as a previous employer during a reference check, in which she gave glowing feedback about her own performance. Interesting. But the lies didn't end there. In earlier submission, the court heard that Thoreau used a photo of supermodel Kate Upton as her LinkedIn profile photo, according to CNN affiliate 7 News. And after starting the position in August, she was found to have hired her brother despite him lacking the qualifications to perform the role. Her case became suspicious to the department after her mental health deteriorated shortly after she started working in the position. In his sentencing remarks, Judge Michael Boylan said he had taken Thoreau's mental health into account, but he had added that the charges were serious and there was an element of planning in her deceitful conduct. You fraudulently obtained employment for which you were paid a large salary in course of which you may have had access to sensitive materials, he said. Thoreau's defense counsel previously told the court that she was deeply ashamed and embarrassed by the revelation, and her crimes involved a unique set of circumstances that were unlikely to be repeated, according to 7 News. The court was also told she had previously used resumes with false information to obtain employment at 2 companies in 2012 and 2014. That's interesting. So not only did she lie in her resume, but she also catfished everybody on LinkedIn with Kate Upton's photo. Man, man, oh man, oh man. This is crazy. And they're putting her in jail for it. So you all have to be careful about what you put on your resume, um, because they will come after you. I've seen it done. You know, I've seen people. We had a famous case here in Massachusetts where a Asian woman lied on her application to work as a forensics analyst in the state forensics lab for law enforcement, and because she touched so many drug cases, and she lied on her resume, they had to overturn all of those brothers that they sent to jail. They released all of them. And it turns out she ended up having to go to jail now. So they had to sentence her because she contaminated a lot of those cases. So they had to throw all the cases out. What's going on, MOT? MOT, can you hear me?
Oh, sorry. I was muted. Yeah, man. I'm glad these people are starting to go into jail for this stuff because there used to not be any consequences about it.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, man, especially throwing all them drug cases out. Come on, man. Like, why would you want to lie like you're a forensics person? That takes like a lot of science, a lot of school to go through to be.
Yeah, I think she lied about going to Harvard or something like that. It was a fake case, man. And then
Wow.
somebody blew the whistle, man, on her. And you know, all the cases that she had handled.
Yeah, man, they gotta throw them all out. They had to throw them all out.
All of them. So there was a massive release of reptiles in the street, man.
Yep.
For like a whole year, man. And they didn't know what to do about it, man. They couldn't rearrest them, right? But they just had to let the
No, they
reptiles go.
couldn't. Yeah.
Crazy.
The way it is, man.
Yeah. All right, let me get to this next one, man. This might be right up MOT's alley. All right, this one's from businessinsider.com. Another 1,000 truck drivers lost their jobs in November, and it's a chilling sign for the economy. I don't even know what this guy is doing with the truck in that bar.
Yeah, that's a pry bar. He's tying down. They look like a covered wagon.
Okay.
That's a pry bar. He's tying down the freight on the inside of it. It's strapped on the inside.
Okay. All right, let me read this article. The job cuts come at a time when the truck industry should be ramping up for the holiday season, where warehousing and storage, for example, added 8,000 jobs last month. And in November 2018, some 4,100 trucking jobs were added. ACT Research said America's $800 billion trucking market has been in recession since early 2019. Freight volumes have declined for 11 straight months. Manufacturing, which tracks the trucking industry, has contracted for 4 straight months. In the first half of the year, about 640 trucking companies went bankrupt. Let me read that again. 640 trucking companies went bankrupt, according to
Good news. I love it.
According to industry data from Broughton Capital LLC. That's more than triple the number of bankruptcies from the same period last year, about 175. Wow. Here's the number of jobs added or removed in 2019. January 19,100 trucking payrolls added, 1,516,000 total. February, 100 added, 1,516,100 total. In March, 1,200 removed, 1,514,900 total. In April, 2,300 added, 1,517,200 total. In May, it was 1,800 added, 1,519,000 total. And the list can just keep going on and on and on. In September, it was 2,000. Actually, in August, it was 5,100 removed. And in September, it was 2,900 removed. And now in November, it was 1,000 removed. Everyone from the C-suite to the individual truckers are increasingly blaming their woes on an industrial recession, one that's being kicked off by President Donald Trump's trade war. We have been in an industrial recession for the last year, and I say that just based on the objective fact that not only us, but the entire LTL industry has been negative, has seen negative tonnage growth in each of the last 4 quarters. XPO CEO Brad Jacobs said in the call to analysts on October 29th. Another explanation for the 2019 challenges is the cyclical nature of the trucking industry. Big upticks are typically followed by downturns. And 2018 was a remarkable year for trucking, with rates across the board hitting nearly record highs. Because of that high pay, trucking companies bought huge numbers of trucks and hired new drivers in anticipation of profits to come. But then, as the supply of trucks and truckers caught up to demand, rates fell, making that investment challenging to pay off. When the rest of America is headed for a downturn, freight usually dips first. A report from Convoy's Economic Research Division said. The industry went into recession in April 2006, more than a year before the rest of the economy were clobbered by the Great Recession starting in January 2008. A tumble in trucking doesn't always foretell a recession for everyone else. The freight industry goes into recession twice as often as the rest of the economy, according to Convoy. But the ongoing hit to trucking hasn't seemed to cause the rest of the economy to meaningfully contract. The rest of the job reports crushed expectations, translating to a 50-year low in the unemployment rate at 3.5%. That unexpected boost in payrolls surprised analysts who have said for months that the economy is slowing down. This year, the U.S. has added an average of 180,000 jobs a month, down from an average monthly gain of $223,000 jobs in 2018. So 640 companies, biting the dust, MOT. What does that mean?
Those are excellent stats. Now, here's what they're not telling you.
Mm-hmm.
The opposite is true. The industry is growing. It's even easier to become a freight owner now. It's even easier to become, you have Uber Freight, you have Amazon with their Relay app, you have JB Hunt 360. I mean, you got so many applications where it's super easy to get your own freight and make 4 or 5 times that you did company pay. Now, what those people don't tell you is the rise in people who actually purchase trucks. Now, the reason why they throw out the red herring of an $800 billion industry, that's $800 billion worth of profits. So people stop working for those truck driving companies and getting their own outfits and their own authorities and using all these far easier applications to make their money. That cuts into big companies' profit. So the market is shifting. It isn't contracting, it's shifting. Like most of those big companies who filed for bankruptcy, all of them had like one customer. So when the customer decides to use a local freight app rather than a trucker company that charges them 40 times more to move the same amount of stuff, and they can't really adjust that fast, that's why they go into bankruptcy. So yeah, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say what it sounds like is that give me 1 second. No, no. What I was saying was that what it sounds like to me is that the technology has done for the trucking industry what Uber and Lyft has done to the cab industry. When guys have to
Exactly.
pay those
Exactly.
big dollars for those hackneys medallions on the back of their cars, now you don't have to do that anymore.
Yep. And now every single person can just go out and get their own authority, and
What's that? What's the
have to do
authority?
it.
What's that mean?
No, so that means you can run freight for yourself rather than driving for another company
Mm-hmm.
as an owner operator making far less money.
Mm-hmm.
It's super easier now to make far more money in trucking.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what they didn't say was what specific type of trucking lost those type of jobs. That's a specific thing because oil drilling isn't down. It's the winter time. People need more refrigerated goods ran out west
Mm-hmm.
and east and north and south.
Mm-hmm.
This is the time when reefer kind of gets up and running,
Mm-hmm.
just like it does during harvest season. So 1,000 people lost their jobs, but they don't say where those people went.
Mm-hmm.
Because here's the deal: if you still have a CDL, you can still get a job in most cities in this country
Yeah.
with a CDL.
Whether you plowing snow in the winter time or
Yeah, driving a what do you call it, dump truck or whatever.
yeah.
So or driving a city bus or something. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, you still have a CDL. You can still go somewhere else.
Mm-hmm.
It's and another thing that they try to mix in sometimes is a loss of manufacturing jobs associated with plants. That has nothing to do with the freight market. It has everything to do with older trucks last longer than newer trucks.
Mm-hmm.
They can't be able to sell a newer product that breaks all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Oops. I guess they should have thought about that. This is why I use only older equipment with a specific type of engine because I don't have to worry about the truck ever breaking down unless it needs an actual overhaul outside of simple belts and hoses.
What's your brand and model of truck? Volvo, Freightliner.
Yeah, Freightliner. They're all in between 2003 to 2007 Freightliner Columbia with the either 12.7 liter Detroit diesel or the 14 liter Detroit diesel engine. That's the only engine that I'll ever drive in any one of my trucks, and all my trucks have the same engine. Now, that engine has been on the market for the better part of 20 years,
Mm-hmm.
and it works, and you can still get parts for it. So,
21 years.
why would, yeah? So why would you switch from something that's been working for 21 years to getting a brand new truck that have all these electronics and all this kind of stuff in it
Mm-hmm.
that they still haven't figured out? Tons of downtime. You got to rent a truck to replace that truck, or you can just go buy yourself an older truck. Put some work into it, and it's gonna work for a very long time.
Mm-hmm.
So the market is just shifting, and it's becoming smarter about how it operates.
Mm-hmm.
But you're still not gonna put the largest trucking companies out of business because on top of doing truck driving, they still have their own logistics services
Yep.
where they get the business and then they put them on load boards for other smaller carriers to do.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of carriers didn't really catch that wave. So when they lose their big customer, they just lose everything, and they don't, and it's too late for them to replace it.
Mm-hmm.
So these losses are for another reason. I mean, it's different than just saying 1,000 nurses lost their job. Yeah, but those nurses can go work for other places,
Right.
doing other things. So the market is shifting. I like it. It's easier than ever to be able to own your own stuff. It's easier than ever to be able to retire early by doing this. I know a ton of immigrants who come over here, paper up for 8 months, and they go back home and live it up.
Mm-hmm.
So it's great.
Yeah. Now, are you only doing national, or do you do international? Do you like you hit Canada, anything like that?
No, I take a lot of stuff from those borders,
Okay.
but it's not really worth it going into Canada or even Mexico for that matter. It's not worth it.
Okay. Okay. We got the going 11 on the panel from the Big Apple. What's going on, man?
What's up, baby? Yeah.
Wow.
What's going on, MOT? Yeah, I was just over on O'Shea's for a hot second there, man.
Mm-hmm.
you know, kind of relaying that little story I had to deal with respect to homegirl at at the Dunkin' Donuts.
Okay.
But yeah, just talking about hardcore business. I'm listening to exactly what MOT's talking about, and he's talking about keeping you know, working with a product that he knows exceedingly well, runs well for his business. He can service it well. He knows the reliability, keeping it, you know, keeping it. It keeps his business going because he knows it. It's vetted, and I just like to say that's in everything else that we do, right? You know, vet everything you have, know what you're dealing with, and you know, if it's working well for you, don't change it around. You know, stick to what you know. Stick to what you know. I don't know what else to say about that.
All right. Yeah, man, this was shocking to me, man. When they said 640 trucking companies just disappeared in 2019, it's not even over yet. It could be 800, you know, in a few weeks. You know, if any bumps in the economy take place, man, you know, in terms of the trade war, tariffs.
That's a lot, and it's been hurting not only trucking companies, but it's hitting shipping companies as well. It's hitting it's hitting a lot of industries and businesses that are directly involved with this. Factories are closing down. You know, they're getting hit because of this, and you know how this man will get reelected. I don't know, because a lot of people are taking tremendous haircuts right now financially. So I don't know. With trucking companies like that closing up, I just got a guy. He's just got a CDL, and he's getting ready to start out. It seems like he's going to go into another training program, but it looks like he's already running up where he's got some light kind of work going already. One company actually wants him to drive. He needs a CDL license, but they want him to drive actually a Ford 450 cross country on some kind of. He's doing something with some musical group. It's something crazy. This kid.
Yeah.
Just hit him. I'm trying to figure out what's he talking about. So
I mean, you know, those are special projects, and they those trucks use like goosenecks to like pull like for instance, that NFL
you know what a 440
set,
is? 440.
Yeah. So imagine something like the set of the NFL, like where they sit at.
Right.
That is an actual platform that goes onto the back of a truck that get towed all over the country. So that's not the only thing that does that. Like musicals and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, and they pay a lot of money.
Yeah, this shit just fell on him.
A lot of money. Oh yeah.
My man Serrano just hooked him up with it. He just got a hold of it. He's calling me up. Yo, this is my guy. I'm doing this. I'm like, yeah, tell me, because I was on like 3 calls, so I didn't catch all what he was saying. But this 440 deal and driving some 440, but he needs to have a CDL. He has to have a CDL license in which to do this. But he's not driving a truck. He's driving a Ford 440 or some shit. Yeah.
I mean, because it's the weight of what he's actually towing is why he needs a CDL.
Okay. Yeah. This is just so here. This dude coming right out, going to work.
Going to work.
I'm like, what?
Yeah.
What's this? Yeah. So I'm just saying, there's opportunities out there. I'm, the trucking it. Like I'm hearing you about your business and how you run and everything, but which I think, because you and I talk a lot. You're a pretty smart cat. There's no question about that. But looking at these other companies that are just going under because of this old trade war game. I don't know if they're newer companies or they're more established, but I know the overhead for trucking is high. So if you're running out of close margin and then a couple of contracts blow up on you, and then don't,
you're done. You're done.
You're finished. So it's a dicey game out there, and if we're going to be in business. Geez, Christopher, our government should at least be looking out for our own people.
No.
I'll just leave it at that.
Speaking of the government, next one is from FoxNews.com. Massachusetts EBT cards were used in elite hotels in Hawaii, report says. On 18 different occasions in 2019, a Massachusetts EBT card was swiped in Hawaii, including one that was used twice at a posh island resort where rooms fetch $800 a night, a report published Monday said. The Boston Herald said it reviewed more than 2 million EBT expenditures over the past year and found thousands of out-of-state transactions that were included withdrawals in Las Vegas and Alaska. The electronics benefit transfer cards are issued to needy citizens who qualify and are replenished monthly. The state's Department of Transitional Assistance bars cardholders from using the card for vacation services, but hotels are not banned. According to the Herald report, in one instance, an EBT card was used to buy a $700 round-trip ticket to the state of Hawaii. The paper said it reached out to the agency about the out-of-state spending and did not get an explanation. The agency did not immediately respond to an after-hours email from Fox News. State Rep. Shauna O'Connell told the paper the card's use to buy tickets to Hawaii is outrageous. We shouldn't see expenditures at five-star resorts. If there are ongoing expenditures in Hawaii, that is a huge problem and needs to be investigated by the DTA, she said. A DTA spokeswoman told the paper the agency monitors out-of-state usage to determine whether the person moved to a new state. The agency also employed new methods of protecting against fraud by blocking locations where cash assistance use is prohibited.
Yeah, well, here's the thing. Most women could just claim that they're single and get an EBT card, man, in this country. So the people who are actually using those cards are probably well-to-do women.
No.
Probably.
Because I know the people who work at I actually dated a girl who worked at DTA. So let me explain how this works. They come in, they have to be destitute in order to get it. However, they get a cash advance and the card, right? So the card takes like a week or 2 weeks to come in, but they get a cash advance too. All they have to do is keep saying that they're destitute, and that's it.
I'm telling you, man, most of these women I know who married to these dudes who are doing well, they all got EBT cards. Yeah. Every single one of them.
Yeah. But the gateway of entry is pretty stringent. But a lot of the time, it's more times often than not, it's women that get the cards and not the men, right? The men have to be like, absolutely homeless in order to get it. Whereas
I can tell you right now, I go right into the Bronx, right off these 230, Albanian crew down there. They over there gambling and playing cards and gambling with their EBT cards right now.
Yep.
They're gambling with them. These are white, and these are some poor white folks out from coming out of Montenegro and all that. That's going on over there. They up in there right now with their EBT cards, gambling, making money, gambling, doing all kind of debauchery shit. Y'all don't have a clue. Y'all don't have a clue the abuse that's going down with that.
Yeah,
so everybody's jumping on that shit.
And whoever tries to raise issue with this, at least in Massachusetts, you get fired. You're not supposed to talk about that. So you're not supposed to talk about the ethics of this whole entire system. The way you fix this, man, we've talked about blockchain. Blockchain is going to solve all of this.
Yes, it is.
These people are going to be SOL, completely out of luck. And at the end of the day, man, they talked about reducing the cash withdrawal per day from $20 to $10.
What?
Yeah, because people would, they go down to the liquor store, go get their little goodies, and then they do a cash withdrawal, and then they buy some scratch tickets with it, or whatever else they're going to buy with it. So
the abuse with this EBT shit, it's criminal. It's a criminal.
Outrageous. Yeah.
It's an illegal criminal enterprise right now. I know they're down there gambling with EBT cards.
And the thing is, in order for the system to
and drinking 40 ounces with it.
Yeah, in order for the system,
how you getting a 40 ounce with an EBT card? I'm just gotta ask that, Mike. What's up?
It's supposed to be barred, so no liquor store is supposed to actually accept EBT as a form of payment.
But man, they're taking that shit and taking it down like it's pure cash gold dollars.
The threat behind
how is this?
The threat behind that is that they could lose their liquor license.
Yeah,
I don't know anybody who's lost their liquor license as of yet.
The license been lost yet?
No, a license goes for 20, 40 grand now. So you take that into consideration, and then you take into consideration, these new forms of technologies like blockchain and smart contracts and things like that. This is a precursor to what the UBI is going to look like, universal basic income, where people are just spending their money out the wazoo on anything. They're gonna have to put down some serious clamp down controls. I think those liquor stores, man, those are the biggest culprits behind it, man. I can understand people go to Stop and Shop or Piggly Wiggly's or whatever, Kroger's or something like that to go get some food. But when you got people using Uber Eats and shit like that for
but here's the thing,
yeah.
But here's the thing. I mean, it's just a transaction and the amount.
Mm-hmm. Say that one more time, MOT.
Transaction, the amount. What type of thing is like when you use EBT, it's like it isn't like grocery stores. There's a lot of checks and balances that stop that from actually being used. But like far smaller vendors, smaller vendors can rack up a hefty, especially in some of these neighborhoods. They're having people buy like food and all that kind of stuff with it, because you can buy food if it's frozen, but if it's actually prepared, you're not supposed to.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of like the transaction, because all that stuff is all in one machine. Unless you're gonna have machines that only do EBT by itself, that's the only other way to kind of track it. But at the end of the day, if the person says the transaction is whatever the transaction is, there's really no way of tracking what the purchase is. Unless you send someone in there undercover and they purchase something that they ain't supposed to. That's the only other way you can get rid of it. But other than that, I just don't see any way you can stop them.
You can't tell me the government doesn't know what's going on. There's no way.
They do know.
Too many people are doing it.
Yeah, they do know.
Too many people doing it. You think it's just a black people problem? We can call it, but I know for straight up sure.
Every community does this stuff, man.
Joke is coming from Europe. Poor ass Europe.
Mm-hmm.
Rolling up in here, they rolling with EBT cards like it's the black card, fam. It's ill. It's ill. It's ill. It's ill.
In order to satisfy their budget for the next fiscal, they have to have X amount of more people sign up every single year. So they encourage a lot of these people to actually sign up, even if they don't want to. And if you don't sign up, then your kids could be at risk for a 51A, which is child neglect.
Well, they pushing it, and folks are utilizing it. I'm like, I would never grab no free government joint like that. But the way they're rolling so hard, I'm like, shit, give me an EBT card if this is what y'all know. This is how y'all playing, really? Really now?
You should get a cane and just kind of, limp your way into the office. Like, come on, bro, help me, brother.
Come on, bro, break me off one of them cards. I mean, for real. I mean, it's ridiculous. I mean, it's crazy. Oh my gosh.
Hey, man. Maybe we get some EBT cash apps and like super chats and stuff, man.
Yeah, man. They may as well be doing that. I mean,
wouldn't be surprised if that's what some people in the ministry are doing.
Nah, stop it.
It doesn't surprise me. It works just like a debit card.
Stop it, Mike. Stop.
No, it's true, man. It's true.
Unfortunately, what you're saying very well may be true, because that wouldn't surprise me either. But that's a little abuse that's going on with this shit. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, man. People putting up them super chats and them cash apps, man. It's just, you never really know, man. So, all right, let me get to this next one from BusinessInsider.com. America's largest truck engine manufacturer just announced 2,000 layoffs, and it's another sign of the trucking bloodbath that's slamming the $800 billion industry. Trucking has seen a challenging 2019 with truck drivers like Chad Boblet in Lexington, Kentucky, saying the industry is in a bloodbath. MOT says otherwise. The data backs up Boblet's claim, particularly when it comes to new orders of big rigs. According to the recent data from FTR Transportation Intelligence, October orders of heavy-duty trucks were down by 51% from last year. October is typically the hottest month for new truck orders. And this October's order hit a 3-year low, the weakest since 2016. Steve Tam, the vice president of ACE Research, a leading publisher of commercial vehicle data, said that when it comes to trucks, we are seeing the biggest volume change in nearly 4 years and the largest price drop in 3 years. Those market trends are affecting Cummins, a manufacturer of heavy equipment in Columbus, Indiana. It's the largest manufacturer of Class 8 truck engines. I didn't even know they had that many classes. Claiming a 38.3% market share in 2018 over competitors like Daimler and Volvo Mack, and $23.8 billion in revenue. John Millis, a Cummins representative, confirmed to Business Insider that the company, which employs some 62,610 people globally, would reduce its global workforce by about 2,000 by the first quarter of 2020. It's not clear which Cummins location or departments will be affected by the layoffs. As we communicated to our employees last week, demand has deteriorated even faster than expected, and we need to adjust to reduce costs, Mills said in an email statement. Cummins leadership informed shareholders last week of a plan to increase profitability amid the trucking downturn, including continuing investments in fuel cell and hydrogen production technologies. It said structural costs would be slashed by $250 million, reaching $300 million by next year. Unfortunately, we must do more to incorporate, to reduce costs because the downturn is happening at a sharper pace than we experienced in the previous 2 cycles, Mills said. We understand that this is incredibly difficult for those directly impacted and for all employees across the company, he added. Our employers or employees are important to the success of our company, and necessary actions like this are incredibly tough and disappointing. However, by taking actions now, we can navigate this downturn and emerge stronger when markets return, just as we have done in the past. Meritor, a manufacturer in Troy, Michigan, said in September that it would slash payrolls by the end of the first quarter of 2020 in response to an anticipated decline in most global truck and trailer market volumes. Its core business includes drivetrain, braking, and other heavy-duty components. Thousands of truck drivers and others in the industry have lost their jobs this year. Trucking has been in recession since the first half of 2019, according to ACT Research. In the first year of 2019, about 640 trucking companies went out of business, according to the industry data from Broughton Capital cited by the Wall Street Journal. That's more than triple the number from the same period last year, 175. 2018, on the other hand, was a hot year for the trucking industry, with rates and new trucks orders in unprecedented numbers. But that fervor likely heralded the downturn this year. When demand is high, trucking companies tend to buy lots of trucks and hire new drivers in anticipation of profits to come. But once the supply of trucks and truckers catches up to demand, rates fall, making the investment hard to pay off. Part of the industry's challenge, being cyclically driven as it is overcapacity. Michael DeSecco, the president of Huntington Bank's asset finance sector, previously told Business Insider. So, MOT says there's no bloodbath. What's your take on this, MOT?
My take on it is that company, again, manufactures trucks. New trucks are trash. Too many electronics, too many things that you just can't simply go fix on. At the end of the day, this was always going to catch up with them. Mm-hmm. There is too high of an operating cost for a new truck over an old truck. Too high. And at the end of the day, they kept pumping out these trucks every single year. And all those companies who filed for bankruptcy are all those companies who used to buy all brand new trucks every single year. And now when them companies go out of business or bankruptcy, it's mostly large companies once they lose large customers, which puts a lot of more trucks on the market. 600 and 700 and 800 trucks at a damn time. So now people have gotten smart, like me, and started using the older equipment. while they're dependent on people who somehow don't see the trend of how much money people are spending on trucks, and they just start using the old stuff. Like these people were in a dying industry and a dying market.
Mhm.
This was an engine manufacturer or an engine where most of their trucks kind of work. But at the end of the day, if you ever went down, it would cost you 5 or 6 grand to get your truck back up and working. Not because of mechanical issues, but because of software problems, most likely.
Mhm.
You were
Yep.
never
Yeah.
going to be able to keep.
No.
Go ahead.
No, you're dead on it about that because I know just how bad electrical problems have. My brother some years ago, he had an X5 BMW. You know that SUV. I don't know if you guys know about that. A real piece of
Oh yeah.
shit.
Oh yeah.
And
Oh yeah.
and circuit boards and all that whole fucking thing went the fuck out, and that was the biggest problem. You had to replace that. That was about 5 or 6 grand just to do that on
Yeah.
all the electronics. So when you talk about those trucks having those issues, that sounds right on the money. And I'm gonna tell my man exactly if he wants to get into this. I'm gonna probably have him get a hold of you before all this is said and done, so we can sit down and talk to you for a little while, MOT. So we can get this inside game because people need to know this walking into it. Because if you don't, looks like you can walk into this thing and get your head lopped off if you're not thinking clearly on this. And if you don't know.
Correct.
Well, a lot of those circuit boards are made in China, man. So
Yeah.
Chinese goods, man, get placed right into those trucks, man, carrying all those heavy loads. It doesn't take much for the vibration and the weight to really just kill the boards.
See, but that shouldn't happen. That's whack. But the fact that you're having that type of problem that shit don't even make any sense.
Because the trucking companies want to turn profit. They rather spend, $10
Yeah.
China.
I mean, but those trucks are made to be expensed very quickly, so they get like 2 and 3 times the tax benefits for even buying a truck like that. And so that's why the trucks are not made to last, because on paper, the reason why they are buying the trucks is for tax incentives and benefits.
Right.
Yeah. Correct. And once they run out, those things are just on the market. And this is why I run into people, probably about 20 of them at this point, that I tried to tell them, do not go buy new equipment. And I tell people about trucking and everything else. Like, look, man, I got good credit. I can go get a truck. 2 months later, the very first time they have a downfall of any type, they're out 8,000, 9,000. I'm like, dude,
And
listen.
They haven't had a chance to build up any real cash or equity at all. They haven't had a chance to build it up.
Correct. Yeah, and they'd be like, dude. And then they're walking your face right into a buzzsaw. This is why you should always buy your truck in cash first. Don't do those deals with those other trucks. So I'm telling you, it's gonna blow up in your face every single time. They're putting whole companies out of business. Like my brother, he owns a shop, and he used to run about 10 07s internationals. All right, Max Force, the same manufacturer that these people are, came out with an engine. They had a very good track record up until that point. Everybody got those trucks with those Max Force engines, completely destroyed their brand name. They put so many trucking companies out of business based on the fact that they had a good track record, and then they came with a whack motor. A lot of people put a lot of money into it, and everybody started losing their shirts over it. The engine is fine now, but at the end of the day, they destroyed their entire reputation over it. But this is exactly the things that are going on, man. The older trucks with less electronics to no electronics is winning the day out here. They last longer. They're great in the wintertime because when they were created to last. Now the stuff is created to expense and get rid of.
Great point. That's a great business point, because I think a lot of people who would jump out into this business would think that maybe the newest equipment that you're talking about would be the best answer and all of that, which on paper makes sense. It makes sense. And then when you're looking at the tax incentives and so forth, that's definitely going to be a driver to move brand new equipment. But at the end of the day, are you saying on the back end, this bad boy is going to gobble you whole? And that's
Think about it. Have FedEx, UPS, DHL, have they changed the way their trucks look? No.
Nope.
Why? Because they work. And like rental companies, like, dude, listen. if you want to know what to use, pay attention to the big boys because the big boys don't use stuff that breaks down a lot. They can't even afford to have that within their budget. So that's what you look at. And most people with this brand new equipment, man, it is a death knell to people just getting into the industry because they can't absorb an $8,000 or $9,000 hit. And no company in their right mind is going to loan you that type of money, especially when they know the track record of the truck from the previous other people who can't pay for it. So
What about these Peterbilt jammies? They look swollen in a mother, and they look like they can really hold up. What's up?
no, but do you really want to pay Peterbilt or Kenworth money when you can get 2 or 3 Freightliners that can do the same job? It's a brand name problem. I mean, they got
Gotcha.
their own stuff and their stuff works, but at the end of the day, are you really trying to pay pay house money for a truck? Well, you could go pick
Gotcha.
up one for, for for like a used car price if you just bought over. Yeah,
Gotcha.
that's what you're looking at.
So do you have
So I'm
you have a technician that you keep on staff, MOT, or on call?
well, well, me and 4 companies we share technicians.
Okay.
I rent the building out, but everybody uses their stuff over there.
Mhm.
I rent out the spots in the parking lot and all that kind of stuff. So like I park my trucks in outside of Denver and outside of Columbus. So I don't actually park any of my trucks on there unless they're not working or unless they're getting ready to get service. Other than that, all those other spots are strictly for parking.
Mhm. All right. Let me get to this next article real quick from NPR.com or .org. Forgiving student loan debt would boost economy, economists say. Presidential hopefuls Elizabeth Warren and Bernie Sanders want to tear up your student loans and set you financially free. That's popular among voters, especially those struggling to pay off this debt. Other Democratic candidates have more modest plans, but economists say the dramatic proposals from Sanders and Warren to free millions of Americans from the burden of student debt could boost the economy in significant ways and help combat income inequality. Warren would give up to $50,000 for most people. Sanders would go further with total loan forgiveness, but with those plans having a price tag of north of $1 trillion, such legislation would come with plenty of risk. The reason debt forgiveness could have an impact on the overall economy is the generation of Americans is making major life decisions differently because of student loans. Children, it's not about if you want them, says Laura Greenwood in Montpelier, Vermont. It's about can you afford them? Greenwood works for the state education agency. She's 30 years old and makes $63,000 a year. I make probably a better salary than a lot of my peers, but after paying for college and grad school, Greenwood owes $96,000 in student loan, and she says that's got her and her partner feeling frozen. Yeah, it's always we're interested in having kids, but just cost of living and all of the other bills and the student loans is just like the final straw. She says it makes starting a family feel impossible, not in the Black community. So if people like Greenwood suddenly had this milestone of debt lifted from their necks, it stands to reason that would unleash pent up desires and spending that would be good for the economy. A lot more people would have kids or start businesses or buy houses. But let me, I'm not going to read this whole entire thing. I think it's kind of silly that this is even being debated. It's obvious that if you take $96,000, $100,000 of student loan debt off of somebody, that they'll be able to spend that money that they would be paying that on other things, such as a house, such as other national staples and local staples. This isn't rocket science. I'm not sure why anybody would, say that there's some kind of social impact here. HVAC, you got your hand up.
Yeah, I mean, when I read that, I'm trying to sit here and say, like, it's not going to boost the economy, but it will boost the morale of people who actually want to become physicians and be in these, medical industries and things like that. It will boost the morale, but it won't really have a domino effect or of anything else. I mean, as far as for the economy, and it seemed like there's some kind of short-term fix for political interest. It seems like to sway you to this candidate or this other candidate has no bearing on what we need. We have a currency issue. We have people lining up outside the United States trying to change the currency, dropping the dollar. Nations are dropping the dollar, but they want to focus on this, and it's just disrespectful in a way.
Wait a second. So let me ask you this then. If you take $150,000 of a student loan debt off of someone's books, you don't think that's boosted local economy?
Boosted? No, I mean, what? Okay, so let me how is it going to boost the economy? Okay, so to me, this is a scam anyway. This whole going into debt for college thing, and it's only.
I'm not asking about whether or not it's a scam. I'm saying if you take $150,000 of overhead off of someone, you don't.
Right, someone, not no economy, not. No, go ahead, finish.
Right. So if you take $150,000 in debt off of someone's books, that would enable them to be able to buy a house because their student loans are actually weighing down their credit score, which reduces their ability to even apply for a mortgage. So your housing purchases and car purchases are two major staples in the economy. If those are not being purchased in the same rates that they were 30 years ago, then what happens here is your economy can't really move as much as freely as it did during the 70s, 80s, and 90s.
That's a great point, but there's not a lot of people going into that debt. When we talk about tens of millions or hundreds of millions of people are not going into debt for that, so it won't really move the needle up much. But as you said, it would be that's what hopefully they would do. Okay, I don't have no student loan debt. Time to go buy this house. Time to go buy this duplex. Time to go rent it out. Time to go do this. But it won't move the needle of our real true issue in this, because people are not going into that damn debt like that, and they're not producing enough entities or hospitals or any damn thing, in my personal opinion, across the country to actually give a boost to the economy. But like you said,
how do you boost the economy then?
Well, not by this. I mean, but like I said,
local economy matters, right? So your two biggest assets are car dealerships and the housing market itself. If people aren't buying houses and people aren't buying cars, how do you boost the economy?
I think you're making a good point for another topic, because when you think about it, who the hell is going into $100,000? These are nurses, these are doctors, these are physicians. These are not truckers. These are not HVAC. These are not plumbers. These are not welders. These are not, hell, even some tech people, because you don't even need a degree for some tech jobs. So is it moving the needle where we need it right now? No, hell no. Well, but your point is actually true. Like if this was going on in the 90s, but not now, to me, it's like it's not going to make a difference. It's like it's good for them to. I'm not against it. I'm saying do it, but don't expect this to actually increase anything. It's not going to, because people really need real careers and real jobs, and not everybody can go be a nurse or a doctor. So we're talking about 300 plus million people. How many of those people, physicians, doctors, going into debt for this? A small smidget. So how? Okay, you erase that, you give them back. So this still small smidget of people, they go out and go buy these houses. They go buy these different things. That's not going to move the needle up where we need to. We have a bigger issue here, and we got trucking companies failing. We got We keep getting our food from Brazil, oranges, all kind of other stuff going on. What are we going to do here to increase this damn country so we stop exporting or get people to buy our stuff? We have a problem where people don't want to buy our stuff. But you're right, though. You are right.
Nicole, you got anything on that? MOT, you have
I'm sorry, just missed that.
Yeah.
Could you repeat that again?
you have anything you want to add to this?
What was just said, Mike? I'm sorry.
No, let me just move on to
Okay. Go ahead.
the MOT.
I'm sorry, brother. I apologize. I was just.
Yeah, man. For me personally, I think education is an investment in its people. I don't think that education should cost. Period. I think education should be merit based.
Mm-hmm.
I think education around certain things that don't produce any type of job should be charged back 15 times back to the organization who would even offer a course like that. So that way you'll force them to offer things that actually lead to somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, at the end of the day, it's an investment in people. You're going to get more tax revenue out of them over a lifetime rather than them getting a kid and being on welfare. So I'd rather pay for education. All it is in a classroom. Like, I don't get why it's so damn difficult.
Mm-hmm.
No, I totally agree. I'm up on that. Education is a capital investment. We should be involved in that also from a deficit spending perspective, because there is a measurable ROI that you get on this. Just like if you're in a family and you have a kid and you raise that kid to be an engineer or or a doctor, whatever, that's going to be a nice return on that investment for you. That's how that works. It's a proven winner. We know this. This is without doubt, without question. To be rapacious with respect to dollars and running up a tab on the kids that they can't pay and everything else like this. I don't. There's not a moral question to this. It's not even good business sense. So yeah, it's up to me. Absolutely, we should cut all of these debts back to the fat. Let these kids damn near go to school for free. As far as I'm concerned, it should be based on merit. Kids who are kicking ass and really going hard, they definitely should be getting rewarded. And this is how you grow your society. Anybody who thinks different than that doesn't understand how a society grows and benefits from an educated populace. They don't understand it. They don't know what they're talking about. They don't understand it. And we've let the oligarch class talk us into some ill shit. And this has got to get cut back. This has to be addressed.
This was Reagan's idea. Reagan's idea was, if they want to go to school, make them pay for it, and they gutted the student the education budget, and they gave it to the military, and that's how you got the F-35 and these other
Primarily, most of that was post civil rights. They wanted to cut blacks back to the fat meat. Wanted to make sure that you did not compete heavily in this market, saying they saw your educational game was rising up. They were very disturbed about this, and many of them wanted you to get cut back to the fat meat, of which has hurt them as well. But they'll do that to hurt you. But don't. It was an attack against your community in so many ways. You have to understand that. It was so you wouldn't get that whole talented 10th piece and all that. Blacks were going to school, getting educated. The SAT scores are moving up precipitously and all that. They were getting tight. They were tight. They didn't want you getting down. They didn't want you getting educated. They know what that means. If you get educated, it's a game changer. So
But does that actually boost the economy? You know what I'm saying? Like based on that article.
Think about
how does it boost the economy? Now let's not think about it. I'm not saying what he said is incorrect, but how does that boost the economy if we are failing in a lot of different industries? We're making cheaper ass houses because we can tell by the disaster management inquiries that these houses are blowing down and stuff. So people damn near scared to build houses and everything. So how does this actually boost the economy versus just saying, yo, we've been doing this scam on y'all. It was really to keep black people back who want to actually compete. And now we're just gonna make it even for everybody. Now, does that mean that everybody now that they know they don't have no debt, they're gonna start going out buying gold and silver and all this and houses and stuff? Does it really boost up the whole economy just for this one little thing they're doing? It's a great thing. I just don't think it's boosting up the economy because people are scared and they don't really trust.
Well, it's a supply chain. It's a supply chain issue as well, right? When people buy houses, they also buy things that go inside the houses. That's why you have Home Depots and Lowe's and these other.
But Sears went bankrupt. See, this is what I'm trying to say. Like
Sears was run pretty poorly. If you read.
Yeah.
No, I know.
Poorly, but Amazon doesn't have that problem, right? Because they're not a brick and mortar as of yet. So for Amazon, that's a little bit different. That's why they can stay afloat. But for Sears, they could not change trajectory fast enough to keep pace with Amazon. But you see, and you'll see later on in these articles, that Target and Walmart are really eating into Amazon's profits too, even though they're a brick and mortar. So there's variations as to why Sears would fall to the waistline, and Radio Shack would fall to the waistline. But yeah, go ahead, Nicole.
But also you have people buying less houses today. Yeah. Why?
That's what I'm trying to.
Because of the cost of education. A lot of these kids who are coming out of school, they can't afford to buy houses and this kind of stuff now. They can't afford to do it. Not when they're coming out and they got 95, 100 grand worth of freaking debt to cover first to get out of school, to cover their school loans. How are they going to come out here and even boost the economy? It's actually hurting the economy by doing this. Mm-hmm. It's actually holding it back. Mm-hmm. It's actually cutting down housing starts. It's cutting down other big ticket items that kind of help to drive the economy that would be considered leading economic indicators. These kind of things are being grossly affected by this. So there is a domino effect with this educational piece. You have to look at this thing dirty. I mean, I don't think you have, but
Germany doesn't have it.
Say that again?
No.
Germany doesn't have this issue. Neither does China. Neither does Russia.
No, because they put money in education. Germany? What did they do? Germany, they were smarter than the rest of them knuckleheads over there in England. I mean, over there, in Europe and so forth. They sat back and said, "Listen, we're going to consistently train our public, our people. The government's going to invest in that, and we're going to consistently train and keep our people up to date on the latest opportunities and jobs that are out here." You look at all these other small countries, India and I'm supposed to be making, China making small parts for computers and stuff, but Germany's one of the bigger small part manufacturers of computer and electronic pieces in the world.
Automotive.
People don't even talk about that. Every time you pick up your cell phone and you turn it to the side and turn it whatever, and it rolls over and stays in that position or widens or shortens to the screen. That's made right there in Germany. They make that piece for that. And that's all the cell phones you have. Yes. That goes to China. China buys that from them. Yep. So I mean, this is the kind of game that's being played out here. But they're constantly training their people. They constantly keep them up going, and they don't let certain levels of fuckery go on in their country. They have a union, so Walmart and these other stores are unionized. So they can't come in here and just rape you and give you nothing and tear you out the frame and tell you you're a part-time worker and all this kind of crap and just literally shit in your mouth and send you home. They ain't going down over there. Scat. So they're running a whole different game, and that's why they're pissing all over the rest of Europe, because the rest of the Europeans they're not that bright, but these guys are. And that's what they've done. And the key that's kept them ahead of the curve is the training, the consistent training and constant continued education of their populace and their working populace.
And the availability.
And let me say this too, and I'll jump off on that on this. But I guess my whole thing was people, to me, I'm only 36, but this college thing to me, is fairly new in the past 30 years, because people were probably buying more houses from the 80s, let's just say 80s down, and they wasn't going to school. They were going to community colleges right? So they had industries and different things that they can use their real community skills in. Now, when they brought all these unnecessary degrees in to make you these fake degrees, to me, don't really have real industries to them. People went into that. Now they got scammed. That's my whole thing. What they need to do is stop making these bullshit as degrees and just get it back to the main things that you need that's going to be recession proof: the medical, the lawyer, the this and the that. Stop making all these business man, all this other kind of stuff. Because
you see that's a nice speech, but the problem that you have with it here is who commoditizes education to be this expensive in the first place?
America.
Who commoditizes?
It's a scam.
Commoditized education?
People was buying houses more without a damn degree from the 80s down. That's what and it goes back to this article. It doesn't
commoditize education to be at the level, to be at the cost and price level that it is right now.
Brother, they can take away this debt, and
if you answer that question, you'll understand where the problem lies.
All right, let me get this next article from usatoday.com. AC Moore closing all stores, up to 40 locations set to become Michael's. Not me. I have nothing to do with this. Another retailer is closing all of its stores. New Jersey-based art and crafts chain AC Moore will close its 145 stores. Its parent company, Nicole Crafts, announced in a news release Monday. Up to 40 of the closing locations will become Michael's. For over 30 years, our stores have been servicing the creative community with a vast selection of art and craft materials with one common focus: the customer. AC Moore CEO Anthony Paperno said in the release, unfortunately, all the headwinds facing many retailers in today's environment, it made it very difficult for us to operate and compete on a national level. According to the company, plans for the closings will be shared in the upcoming weeks, and the AC Moore website will stop accepting online orders Monday. Previously placed orders will still ship, the company said. AC Moore officials did not immediately respond to USA Today's request for comment. It was unclear Monday whether the retailer will still hold a Black Friday sale. Stores were scheduled to open at 6 p.m. local time Thanksgiving. Michael's, the nation's largest arts and crafts retailer, will assume the leases of up to 40 stores, a lease on the East Coast distribution facility, and purchase AC Moore's intellectual property, the release said. So, I mean, we talked about this before that, retail is going to bite the bullet. And we keep seeing this over and over and over every single week. Another retailer bites the dust. Brick and mortars are getting hammered. If you haven't, if you're a retailer and you have not innovated your supply chain and logistics, you're in deep shit. All right, let me get to the next article. All right, this one is from CNBC.com. Target, Walmart, and other major retailers are a threat to Amazon this Cyber Monday. Amazon has become a huge threat to big box stores in recent years, but those retailers may be making a comeback this Cyber Monday. Walmart and Target had bigger jumps than Amazon in online customer spending during the first 2 weeks of November compared with the same period last year, according to research firm Edison Trends, which looked at more than 1.2 million transactions. Walmart took in 51% more than last year, while Target followed close behind with 47% increase. Amazon's customers spending grew just 32%. So you can see here on this bar graph, Walmart, Target have leapfrogged Amazon. Amazon does not have a brick and mortar, but they're counting the transactional sales just in the first 2 weeks of November. So everyone is going to is buying local now. They're not even going to Amazon as much as they people would like to think. Macy's, however, and Best Buy, I feel sorry for their CEOs. I wouldn't be surprised if they step down within the next quarter. As retailers battle for the market share, they are investing in their e-commerce options and integrating them with brick and mortar stores. This includes adding more products to their online shops, offering in-store pickup for item purchased online and direct shipping from stores to customers' houses, according to Nomura Internet analyst Michael Baker. These companies are also investing in the infrastructure of their websites to allow them to handle big shopping days like Cyber Monday. Retailers have gone from being in denial about the potential threat of e-commerce to accepting that e-commerce is a real threat and investing to take advantage of the omni-channel asset, Baker said. They are realizing that they can compete with Amazon to win back market share, he added. There is a lot of competing to be done. Amazon sees more users start with its site when online shopping than any other site, including Google, according to a recent report by Bain and Company. Amazon tends to gobble up the market with big gains during the holiday season. Last year, the company picked up about 2 points of market share in the second half of 2018. The tech giant has implemented a strategy of offering a wide assortment of products at low prices while focusing on aspects of customer experience that are necessary for buying gifts, like recommendation, fast shipping, and easy returns, the report said. In the past, Amazon has also tried to stay top of mind by making attention-grabbing announcements during the holiday season, like those of minimum wage increase for all employees and the locations of its new headquarters, which the company made at the end of last year. But this year may be different. Amazon's Net Promoter Score, which measures the likelihood of a customer to recommend a store or brand, has slipped in 6 of 9 categories since 2017 when compared to other retailers, according to the research from Bain and ROI Rocket. So I'm not going to read this whole thing, but basically, people are not really satisfied with Amazon services. I guess you call somebody, you don't really get a live human or something like that. People want that human-to-human interaction, which makes it difficult for Amazon to really compete because they're a very automated company.
They do everything they can to not talk to people, and nobody really likes that.
Yeah. Humans don't like to talk to robots. That's been known. All right, this one is from Yahoo Finance. I'm working until I'm 75. Factory worker describes family student debt nightmare. Student debt isn't just a student problem across the US. Many parents also struggle with the burden of student loans. A recent survey by Freedom Debt Relief found that 37% of 1,506 American adults said their children's college education costs has made them feel financially overwhelmed, and 20% said that the stress has contributed to mental or emotional health issues. More than 40% said education costs impacted their retirement plan, with 37% indicating that they had given up retiring when they initially desired. Yahoo Finance spoke with one parent in particularly difficult student loan situation, a 60-year-old factory worker from Scranton, Pennsylvania, who had co-signed a loan for his son. The man, who we'll call Frank, asked for anonymity to protect his son. Frank's student debt experience began when his son got into college. As a middle-class working family that brings in about $75,000, Frank and his son started borrowing. The son fell seriously ill after attending the school for 1.5 years and dropped out. After his health improved, the son decided to resume his education at a different school. All the while, both father and son continued to borrow. The expenses began mounting. The family had a refinanced mortgage and a credit card debt, as well as a home and car insurance to pay. On top of that, they had recurring medical bills. And there was a possibility of more kids going to college. So student loans overtake mortgage debt and severe derogatories. So I can click on this. Oh, okay. So the beige is, or the gold would be a mortgage, and the light blue is the student loan debt. And judging by 2003, although student debt was slightly higher than mortgage debt increased, as well as the student debt increase as well, but not symmetrically, just asymmetrically. Yes, scroll this down. I'm not going to read this whole thing. Eventually, the son dropped out of school due to a combination of illness and circumstance, but the lenders were at the door. Frank's son owed over $100,000 in federal and private student loans. So here we are. He's no longer in school. Sally Mae and everyone else want their money, Frank said. Without a degree and without going to school full time, there's no more delaying, no chance at consolidating, nothing. Frank's credit score suffered since he used his credit cards to pay for the son's college expenses. And each loan he took out came with a higher interest rate, from 9% to 12%, worsening the situation further. Frank began taking money from his 401k, sacrificing his own retirement fund to alleviate the student debt pressure. He described the burden as both financial and emotional. The son is so depressed and we are heartbroken for him, he said. But I figure now I'm working until I'm 75. It's not nice for a hardworking middle-class family. I heard of some people having 75, but I don't want to work till I'm 75, man. Yeah, this is not the business. MOT, you got something on this?
Yeah, I mean, nobody want to work till they Tony Maceo, 75 apparently. Yeah, man. But at the end of the day, man, that's a lot of poor planning that comes into trying to hold down one job and one industry for that long, man. Like, I run into dudes who will still drive hollows, and they're like 60-something years old. You know they're 60-something years old. Mm-hmm. Like, bro, you should have got out of this by now. You have 15-year-olds, 17, 18, 19-year-olds who are doing the same job he's doing. So it's like, these people just really wanted to work one job for the rest of their life. I'm like, dude, if you wanted to do that, then you should have worked for the federal government, No, that's really not how outside the federal government works, man. And I'm not sure what you could do with somebody in that situation who hundreds of thousands of dollars in student loans on top of that. It's crazy.
Crazy. I don't know, man. I don't know how anybody thinks they can retire here, man, on less than $100,000. A lot of black people don't even have $1,500 in savings tucked away, and they talking about retiring here. Not going to happen.
Retire on $100,000?
That's the minimum that you need in this country to retire.
You can't retire on $100,000 in this country.
At 75, if you retire at 75, you can top ramen noodles, some Fig Newtons and shit like that.
Alpo, yeah.
He said Alpo.
Salmon in the can. Yeah, okay. I don't know.
Some bologna, some Wagner. So
pie and meat.
You need either in benefits, And in savings, you need close to $1 million.
Mhm.
There you go.
Benefit
There you
savings, at least that. If you're talking about anybody talking about $100,000, that's not even a hefty salary in New York City, man. I mean, come on.
No, man. That's what I'm saying here is that's what the speculators are saying. At bare minimum, if you retired at 75, that's what you would need to actually get by, right? You can get by on $9,000 a year is what they're saying if you live minimally, right?
Okay.
If you lived in one of those green dumpsters, if you lived in one of those green dumpsters,
Better develop a nice taste for tender victuals.
and you did, so I don't know what they call
Wi-Fi dumpsters, man.
Oh, yeah. If you did, I don't know.
Tender fiddles.
I don't know what they call
And some of the other dog foods that are out there, dog and cat food. You better get a good taste for that.
Yeah, but I don't know what they call it in New York, but in Boston we call it an A and B cab, right? So basically, you
Oh, what?
A to B.
Okay.
So basically, you get inside of a cab, and then at the traffic light next to your destination, you jump out, and then you run away and don't pay for the cab. So you go from A to B.
That shit is the worst. but if you old like that, you can't run either, man. You move it all slow and shit. You know that cab driver gonna jump on your back, shake your ass up. You ain't running for nobody at no 75.
Get your mind right. Get your body right.
Yeah.
Shit, okay. I'm sure I'll be in some decent shape, but I ain't gonna be running out of no cab somewhere. I got it. I'm gonna make it. I got it. Nah,
If you train for the Spartan, man, you should be good, man.
Yeah, it should be good at 75. Okay.
Come on, man. I mean, there's Bernie Sanders seems to be getting around just fine, man.
Yeah, but he ain't jumping out no damn cabs, bro.
If a cab's in traffic, man, and you just get out.
Hey, come on, man. Old people are cool, but they ain't moving too fast out here. So.
Okay. All right, this one is from Forbes.com. Half of Apple's business is at. When Apple CEO Tim Cook took the stage this September, nobody expected the shocking news he was about to deliver. He unveiled the new iPhone 11, the most advanced phone Apple had ever made.
Are you serious?
But it was
no one knew he was going to unveil a phone.
But it was not the triple lens camera and lustrous finishes that stole the show. It was the phone's price tag. For the first time ever, Apple cut its iPhone price. As I'll explain, Apple made this move out of desperation, and it may well spell the end of Apple's run as a dominant company. Let's get one thing straight. Apple is not a computer company anymore. Apple is a phone company. Since it introduced the iPhone in 2007, Apple has sold 2.2 billion phones, raking in over $1 trillion in sales, more than any other phone maker in history.
Damn.
Meanwhile, Apple stock has shot up over 2,037% and became the world's largest publicly traded company. Where's Dollar Will when I need him? Apple has earned a whopping $1.99 trillion since 2007. The thing is, more than half of it came from iPhone sales. iPhone is not the only is not only Apple's best-selling product by far. It's also the company's most profitable product. For every dollar an iPhone brings into the company, Apple earns 60 to 75 cents, according to PhoneArena.com. Compare that to the MacBook Air, Apple's most profitable notebook, which earns a mere 29 cents on the dollar. If it weren't for the iPhone, Apple wouldn't be where it is today. Without the iPhone, Apple would be a mediocre computer company like Dell at best. For years, iPhone revenues have sprinted higher at an exponential pace. But in 2015, Apple reached an inflection point. The growth of its iPhone sales had died out, as you can see below. Last year, Apple sold 14 million fewer phones than it did 3 years ago. That's not unusual, though. When Apple unveiled the first iPhone, the smartphone was groundbreaking technology. The typical life cycle of a groundbreaking technology looks like this. Sales skyrocket out of the gate, then flatten out as the market matures. Finally, take an inevitable downturn. 12 years ago, only 120 million people had a cell phone. Today, over 5 million people own a smartphone, according to IDC. Apple found a way to extend the iPhone lifecycle. As I wrote earlier, Apple has found a masterful way to extend iPhone's prime time. The company raised iPhone prices to offset slower sales and keep its revenue figures growing. Think about it. In 2010, you could buy a brand new iPhone 4 for $599. In 2017, you would have had to fork over $849 for the iPhone 8 and $1,149 for the iPhone X, Apple's most expensive phone. The price hike
ridiculous for a phone. It's ridiculous.
You're due for an upgrade anyways. The price hike kept Apple's growth alive. And for this reason, its revenues have gone on marching higher since 2011. But there was also another reason Apple was forced to hike its phone prices. Take a close look at the chart below. It shows how much it costs for Apple to make an iPhone. Wow. So the cost for the most recent iPhone is around $400, and then they charge over $1,000 for the phone. So, there was a time when it was cheap to make the first iPhone, and then the iPhone 3G, and then the iPhone 3GS, and then the iPhone 4. But after that, it just went up exponentially.
So the cost to make the phone is $400?
Yeah.
I find it hard to believe, but anyway.
It makes a lot of sense if you think about the technology that they're putting into it. Those.
Well, research and development, I could buy that. But
well, for the battery technology, that's still significant, right? And then you factor in, the proprietary parts that go in there. It's not like an Android phone. Android phones are very open market based, right? So you can take different chips and different pieces and kind of make an Android phone as long as it's compliant. With Apple, a lot of that stuff is proprietary, right? The A11 chip or the A4 chip, whatever they call it, that's all designed by Apple. The battery is all designed by Apple. The memory has to be designed by Apple and Samsung. A lot of the components that are inside the iPhone can't work in other phones. It only works in that one phone. So I'm not going to read the rest of this article, but what they're basically saying is that if the iPhone sales become flat, the company is finished because they have nothing else left up their sleeve. That's just it. What's been happening is that Huawei has been eating Apple's market share on a global scale. And in fact, they're the number 2, actually they're the number 1 phone seller right now is Huawei. And then you factor in Samsung has been eating all of a lot of Apple's market share as well. So Apple, for all intents and purposes, if they cannot sell their phone for $2,500 next time around, they're fucked.
25, come on, man.
Who's gonna buy that phone for that amount? I mean, my grandson, my grandson, he hit me up, and I said, "Look, man, this is the last thing you getting live like this from me for this kind of price. I'm not buying these bullcrap phones for this. I don't believe in it. I got an iPhone 8, and this thing is a piece of crap. I talk to Mike half of the damn time. We're getting cut off left, right, and center. It's ridiculous. It's whack. It's just whack. It's whack. So I'm sitting there saying, I can't justify it. I can't justify it.
What you do for an upgrade? You're due for an upgrade.
Man, I'm getting ready to outgrade. In fact, let me tell you something.
For real.
I'm gonna break this down right now. See, to me, it's not a money thing. It's a principle of the fucking matter. And to me, it's getting so outrageous. I'm getting ready to jump on that ARP card joint, get me that ARP cell phone that they got going on, and get me that $25 a month plan. And I'm gonna roll around, man, with my skivvies on, glasses hanging low on my nose, walking around, pants dangling a little bit, and I'm gonna be walking around like grandpa, man, with that phone. That's about where I'm getting ready to go. Nah, man, I'm getting ready to go there, man. I'm serious. That's how outrageous I think this shit is. I just think it's outrageous. I can't justify it. I'm getting ready to go ARP, man. That $25 a month joint, man, and that senior phone.
Yeah,
the senior phone they got.
Senior phone.
I'm getting ready to go there, and it had me my bifocals sitting low on my nose. You know how them low half Z's sitting low on your nose? That's what I'm gonna put those on.
The CVS special?
Yeah, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Yeah.
Walgreens.
And low on my nose, pants dangling. That's what I'm getting ready to do. Shit. Yo, that's not going. Look at his ass. He going to the gym though, but look at his ass. Look at it. So that's how I'm.
The thing
Yes.
is, a good Android
phones,
phone,
man, for real.
The thing is, you can get a good Android phone right now that will do 99% of what the iPhone can do.
Mm-hmm.
For a fraction of the cost.
You're like 150 online. You could probably go get a phone 3 years old, still works nice, still does everything. I don't get this whole buying a new phone every year stuff, man. I think it's a scam. These people are crazy.
You got an iPhone, right, MOT?
Oh hell no, man. No.
I'm saying if this is Apple's, if this is their Sunday punch, this is their big Sunday punch. Their days are gonna be numbered, man.
That's what the article is pointing out, that if they cannot sell phones, they are screwed. 29 cents on every MacBook they sell, compared to 75 cents to every iPhone that they sell. That's a hard pill to swallow, man. You can't make money off of that. People are paying. If you're telling me that the next iPhone, people are gonna have to make a mortgage payment on it, you can't be serious. Your whole entire enterprise is done.
It's like a car payment. It's like a small car, something like, I mean, $2,500 for a phone. How you justifying that?
They might have to lay off Complex. Who knows?
Oh no! Where's Brother Complex, man? Nah, man, we got him. We got Complex.
Especially he did an unboxing of a African phone. How dare he?
Yeah, how dare? But you know something?
The nerve.
That African phone is looking better and better by the minute. I tell you that. I'd sooner pay $300 than pay some 1G or 2 or 3Gs. I'm just not seeing it for a phone. I can get a laptop for cheaper. I'm sorry, man. You can't get me. I gotta go
top of the line laptop.
Top of the line. I'm talking about. They got laptops on. They got laptops on sale here for $300-$400. Man, come on, man. It's short money. I mean, what you out here talking about? A phone?
My tablet has 5G in it.
Man,
oh, really?
Nah.
I have a 5G laptop. Tablet from HP. So just recently came out. So so far so good. I haven't had any issues with it. But my next phone I just ordered is a 5G too. So it's an Android phone, and it's half the price of an Apple phone, and it does twice as many things. So
those 5G phones have extremely large hard drives, right?
Oh, you mean disk space? Nah, not necessarily. Not necessarily. I mean, they're top of the line, but they're 256 gigs of storage. That's pretty normal in Android spaces. If you're buying like a top of the line Android phone for $600 or $500, if you bought an Apple phone of the same comparable specs, you're paying $1,200 for it right off the rip.
You have to buy like a memory card, like PS2 or something.
Oh, you mean for the Apple phone?
Yeah.
Oh, well, they don't take any SD cards. They don't do that. You gotta buy storage from them. It's always that way. You gotta buy storage from them. Yeah, so that's
all them dollars, man.
Yeah. I mean, 5 iPhones could fill your truck up, man. I mean, in terms of fuel. Let me get to the next side. All right, this one is from businessinsider.com. Millennials are obsessed with tiny homes, and the 3 reasons why highlight just how different they are from baby boomers. Yeah, you're gonna need those. There was a time when slaves used to live in these little shacks like this. They didn't call them tiny houses, they called them slave quarters. Let me get to this article.
Slave shacks, yeah.
Yep.
They were essentially huts. They were
Yeah.
huts.
Yeah. Tiny houses are more than 200 square foot dwellings on a set of wheels. They are also symbolic of some of the key differences between millennials and baby boomers. I experienced these differences firsthand when I recently visited Think Big, a tiny house resort in the Catskills in New York, and stayed in a
Tiny house resort.
Oh yeah, yeah. Before you know it, they'll be putting dudes in dumpsters, man. Like, yo, this is the business.
Facts. Facts.
You're select now.
Facts.
You're
Yeah.
select.
The resort,
Garbage on garbage.
Oh, man.
the resort is run by the mother-daughter duo, Margie and Melissa Juzek. I asked them why they thought millennials have fueled the growing tiny house phenomenon, and their 3 answers made it clear just how different millennials are from their parents. Millennials can actually afford tiny houses. People love tiny houses because the McMansion died, Melissa told me. Millennials can't afford mansions. Tiny houses, she added, are generally more affordable for millennials. The suburban mansion is losing its spot as part of the American dream, and it's partly because they are too expensive for millennials who are financially behind. Business Insider previously reported. A 2016 Trulia study found that premiums paid for McMansions declined significantly in 85 of the country's 100 biggest cities. Margie, a baby boomer, said her generation does houses in the suburbs, but the next generation is coming out of school with student loans. Staggering student loan debt, coupled with higher cost of living, is delaying millennials saving for a down payment. It doesn't help that for first-time homebuyers today are likely to pay 39% more than first-time homebuyers did nearly 40 years ago. And only 13% of millennial renters across the US will be able to afford a traditional 20% down payment within the next 5 years, according to a new apartment list survey.
You're talking 55, close to 60 grand cash in your pocket.
Mm-hmm.
You got to have to walk into a house with a good credit score,
Mm-hmm.
And a good job. All right, that's what it really takes. I just, I had a house where me and my brother put this house up for sale that we own, and this person was supposed to buy it, and they couldn't come through. They couldn't even get qualified from the bank the right way. And I'm sitting there saying they're a young couple. It's tough. I'm sitting there saying this shit is tough. This is tough, man. This shit is tough.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just looking at what's going on. It's not a game out here. I'm partially in this business, in the real estate business as well. This is what if you're gonna do houses and build them or rehab them and redo them and sell them, you're running right into these people, man. These young folks are having a hard time with this. They don't have the money. They just don't have the bread, and a lot of them don't have wealthy parents to where they can just write a 50, 60, 70 G check and just drop it on there right there and they're good. That's not what's going on. It takes people a while to save up that money. How are you going to save the money up when you got these big giant loans sitting on top of you? Mm-hmm. It's tough. It's a tough game. It's a far tougher game than it was when I was coming out. Far tougher. Far tougher.
Multi-generational living is what the business is now.
That's the game. That's the game. That's smart. In fact, that's the smart move. Mm-hmm. If you can make it work, that's the smart move.
Mm-hmm. To the next item on the docket. All right, this one is from yahoo.com. CEO, you need to start saving for retirement right after high school. Americans must squirrel away as soon as they reach 18 or 22 if they want to guarantee a comfortable retirement, according to one expert. You've got to start sooner than you probably thought. Dan Houston, CEO of investment firm Principal Finance Group, said in a recent interview with Yahoo Finance, you need to start right after high school or college whenever you find yourself in the workspace. The second key move, Houston said, is to sock away 13 to 15% of your annual income into your 401k or other retirement accounts. That's enough to eventually allow you to replace 80 to 85% of your income that you will need once you retire. Houston's advice comes at a time when almost 3 in 5 US adults say they need to catch up on their retirement savings, and only 1 in 5 max out their 401k or IRA contributions. We have more capacity to save than we realize, Houston says, suggests that a retirement Tuesday should follow the holiday spending that occurs on Cyber Monday. There's a reason that Amazon warehouses are pumping out so many items. People underestimate how much they will need in their post-work years, Houston said. Many end up spending more than 100% of what they made in their last working year immediately after they retire. Wow. It's usually pent up demand for travel or buying a motorhome or something of this nature, he said, and then it starts falling away. In later years, retirees have to contend with expensive prescription drugs and hospital stay costs. Current 65-year-olds can expect to pay $285,000 on healthcare during their retirement, with 15% of their living expenses going toward medical-related costs, according to a recent study from Fidelity. I don't know, man. You might have to start saving for retirement when you go into like a Montessori school or something like that, man.
No, man, you got to start so you're born.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but this shit's gonna start blowing. Folks are gonna start getting tight. This government, if people don't start waking up, man. I mean, folks are gonna start going off. Because man, I'm telling you, this shit is not sustainable. It's just, I see bad things coming down the line, man. I see some revolutionary type shit starting to happen up in this country.
Mm-hmm.
Folks are not gonna be able to retire. You're gonna have grandma out there in the street. No, nah, man. I'm sorry. This shit's getting ready to get ill. Folks better start rethinking what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they better start rethinking. We've seen this before. This is not gonna end well.
Yeah.
Send somebody out of high school to do it, and you don't even have the curriculum to teach them how to save in high school. You're not teaching them how to save, so you don't have the industries like you used to, where you didn't even need a degree and you could still pay off a house. So I guess that guy that was running for political office when he was talking about universal income,
mm-hmm.
I thought it was a horrible idea, because I was like, but now that I think about it, it's kind of like they're kind of telling you we screwed up,
mm-hmm.
and we don't have no choice but to give y'all this, you know, and it don't make no sense to keep sending y'all to school for degrees that we created these scam degrees to kind of, as we were downing the industries and sending them elsewhere, we came up with these scam degrees to boost our economy.
For zillions of dollars. For zillions of bucks. You're talking about scam degrees for 90 grand, bro. What's up with that?
It's something, a lot of people went to school for liberal arts degrees. They didn't go for medical. You can count arts, more people.
History.
They went for more bullshit than they
poli-sci,
black history, whatever the other shit, black history. They didn't go for no damn medical history,
and stuff. You know, all that, you know, yeah, what the degree's gonna get? I mean, you know, you ain't getting butter laid with it. You ain't getting butter laid, you know.
But them tiny homes, them container homes, that's a good idea to help with this. Now, if we can get some bills passed with some districts or some areas, we could put up $75 little container homes or tiny homes and just say, yo, we give you tax exemption. That'll work. That'll help with single, and you know, that will work. But matter of fact, they tried it in Atlanta and Decatur. It failed because it is a new idea. It failed. But people are trying to do it.
Yeah. Well, you know, people have to, you know, I'm speaking specifically about Black people because they're the ones who are disproportionately affected by this. You go to Mississippi. I know MOT has talked about Mississippi. You know, Louisiana, man. Some of those parts look like they are third world countries, and you would think, you know, you got other groups of people who come from third world countries and come here and see the urgency to get up and go. You know, Black people are gonna have to start rethinking this whole entire thing. If I knew how to speak Portuguese, I would be right down, putting my money into a Brazilian bank in the next 5 years, and I'm out.
Well, you know, I'm getting a little nervous of the Brazilian situation, the banks, because the way I see them trying to roll up, and these oligarchs down there, the kind of plans they got. So I'm a little worried. I mean, I have a place in there. That's where I definitely am going to be retiring. But at the end of the day, you know, I hope they can get this government game straight, because they got a bunch of freaking jagged mouthed reptiles down there trying to take over, and who are taking over basically. And this is not a good scene. And so I think there might be some tremendous civil unrest going to happen there in the next, couple of years, if this asshole who's in there right now continues at his rate. And then, you know, the leftists, because they're trying all kind of stuff in South America. They're trying to keep the left away, and that's all across South America. I think things are going to get real dicey down there. It's unfortunate, but I think things are going to get dicey. Anyway, go ahead.
MOT. Go ahead, MOT.
I'm good.
Okay.
I thought you guys were when you guys brought that up about talking going potentially living overseas. I was like, my military friends tried to tell me to come to the Philippines and stuff, and I'm, you know, they got a VA down there and stuff, and I'm like, now that I hear you guys talk about it, I'm like, so you guys have really thought about leaving America and taking the money you've earned and just say,
yeah, for sure.
Yeah, your money was stretched so much further over there. You're talking about the dollar, you know, being almost 10 to 1 in some of these places.
I mean, right now in Brazil, the dollar is 4.26 to 1.
Yeah.
4.26 to 1. I mean, you got 40,000, which is fairly short money. It ain't long money. Mm-hmm. It's really not that much money. Mm-hmm. You are coming off. Mm-hmm. You're coming off. And that's only because if you look at it, just look at 4 times 4. You know, that's what you're looking at. I mean, you're coming off on 40 G's. Mm-hmm. So yeah. I mean, it makes it a much better deal, and you know, cost of living is cheaper, and you know, food is great. You know, and you know, beautiful women and all that kind of stuff. If you want to be around that, you know, it's far better deal than what's going on up in this uptight, whacked out bullshit that they're passing off as all good with a bunch of psychopaths running the joint. I mean, it's
I see. I work in IT, so I can, you know, for all intents and purposes, I can take my laptop with a Wi-Fi connection.
Right. That's right.
I can go live somewhere else. I don't have to deal with this bullshit, man.
That's right.
You know, I can do most 90% of my work, you know, remote. So
that's right.
It's one of those things, man. Black people got to start thinking long term about this, man. How far does your money stretch? Don't say 40,000 would have you sitting pretty butter-laid over there. But
40 grand, you rolling real nice. And if you want to go minimalist, you can get you a small apartment near the beach, pays very little, and you could live off of 15, 20, less than 20 grand a year, man. I mean, you could really, and I'm talking about you coming off for real. I mean, you can buy a nice little car down there for 4 or 5 grand American dollars. You could, I mean, you don't understand, you could really be, bopping if you really want to do it. That's what I'm saying. Staying here, and all that, lead this to the grandkids. Let them hang, let them knuckle. Let them knuckle with this. Yeah, hey, take that out, man. Knuckle with this shit, man. I'm out, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The thing is, man, 40 grand. There's 52 weeks in the year. You're talking at least $800 a week. You got to start thinking about this, man. People got to.
Yes, you do. Yes, you do.
You spent $500 on a Louis Vuitton belt, I should slap you.
And I'll slap your cheeks for doing something like that around here, man. What's the hell's wrong with you?
Yeah.
You can go to Ghana, Danby. Go Ghana and these other spots. You living great. You go to Uganda in these places. 50 grand a year. You're literally living like Idi Amin Dada. You were living like him. You're living like a king. Where you got people driving you around, and you got chauffeurs and all that, and you got some of the biggest, thick-bodied, small-waisted, brown-skinned killers walking around just looking to be nice to you. It's ridiculous. Yeah, you sitting up in here dealing with this fucking vile, poisonous savages running around. It's crazy. It doesn't make no kind of sense. But most people who don't know any better, they can't speak on it like that. But those who do know better are gonna make different moves, man. This ain't the move, you just make your dough, man, and keep it moving, man. Yeah, man, make your dough. I swear to God, I'm just looking at this shit. This just looking ill about a day. It's just anyway, I don't want to say anymore.
Let me get to this next one from AfricanNews.com. West African nations withdraw CFA reserves from France. Benin President Patrice Talon has announced that foreign reserves of the West African CFA currency used by 8 countries in the region were to be withdrawn from France. In a wide-ranging interview with French public broadcasters RFI and France 24, Talon alluded to the move being unanimous for all countries in question. We are unanimously agreed on this to end this model, he said, adding that the current model was more of a psychological problem than technical. The central banks of African countries of WAMU, West African Monetary Union, will manage all of these foreign currency reserves and will distribute them to the various central bank partners in the world. Talon said the regional bank's task was to be dispatched very quickly, but he fell short of giving a specific timetable. Countries under WAMU include Benin, Togo, Burkina Faso, Mali, Senegal, Ivory Coast, Niger, and Guinea-Bissau. It goes by the French initials BCEAO. Since 1945, the West African and Central African CFA have pegged to the French francs and later the euro, and its reserves have been kept in France. The Central African bloc of countries that use the CFA include Chad, Central African Republic, Congo Republic, Gabon, Cameroon, and Equatorial Guinea. Some experts stress that the move kept African economies largely dependent on the European monetary policy, a situation others routinely labeled neo-colonialism, and which has evoked stern critique of France over the years. In early October, French Finance Minister Bruno Le Maire said France was open to an ambitious reform of the CFA franc. He was echoing the thoughts of French President Emmanuel Macron while addressing students during a visit to Burkina Faso a few years ago. Bruno Le Maire was quoted as saying, "What I can tell you is that the president of the republic is ready for an ambitious reform of the franc zone. But I repeat, it is up to the member states of the franc zone to take the initiative, make proposals, and measure how far they wish to go." This is a declaration of war. France does not like the idea that African countries are trying to get away from their little colonialist project. The first shot across the bow was Libya, when Muammar Gaddafi decided that he was going to create a gold-backed dinar that would be the reserve currency of the continent itself, replacing that of the CFA, which would collapse the French economy overnight and would do numbers to the European Central Bank. And the Europeans understood that clearly, that you know, this would be a nail in our coffin, that the European Union would fall apart if they cannot rape and pillage the economies of the African continent. So I don't know if anybody else has anything they want to add to that.
Yeah, I mean, that was the whole thing about, yeah, of course these little colonial joints want you to stick around, because if you don't, a lot of that depends on them staying around. Kick that ass out, man. Forget these folks. That's my view. Start to move and drop that colonial coat. Time for these guys. It's time for them to go. Time for them to be gone. Time for them to die out. Go by way of the dodo bird and forget them. Africa's got to evolve. Can't be having these savages running around, people still beholden to their shit game. That's whack. That's all. Time for that now. It's over. And I think that this thing has to continue on its natural path. Let these dudes fade off. Fade off and die off in the end. That's how I really feel. That's how I'm seeing it.
It depends on if the French decide that they're going to send a military force into there. They've been talking about an EU army. So an army is a land warfare branch of a military. So if they're talking about deploying the EU army into the continent of Africa, this could be very bloody. It could be a very bloody true decolonialization state.
Well, so much of this is going to depend on the African states that they had to sit back and have to look at this imminent threat, work with other powers here, and we may have to employ even though I don't trust the Chinese or the Russians, employ other powerful forces to play as a counterbalance, and play some real strong political brinksmanship. But at the end of the day, they have to be seen as, you bring your EU force here, it may not go to where y'all want. So, and if y'all lose, do you understand what that means? Mm-hmm. So at the end of the day, this is this is something that I think that can be. It's a move that can be parried politically. Mm-hmm. That's how I'm seeing it, because there are other rivals in this game that might want to play on another side. So I'm looking at it from that perspective. Mm-hmm. We have to look at this, but I wouldn't be all that confident to say, oh yeah, they're going to come in there and just bring a EU army in there and tear everything out of the frame. They're going to have to think seriously about that as well. This Libya situation was a bad one. I don't know if these guys want to continue on with some of this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so is that why you think, I believe in Ghana, they're building like a military base? So they're already, actually, I think they already built it over there.
The Americans tried to build that under Bush, and what happened was that the Gaddafi was the head of the African Union at the time. He said there will be no such AFRICOM base situated on the continent. That won't happen. So he was the first one to veto it, because he was the head of the African Union at the time. So that base was built, but it was the AFRICOM was not stationed in Ghana. It was actually stationed in Stuttgart, Germany. So
right, but now they're building one. What's this guy's name? He used to be in the military. They call him James. His name is James Smalls. He's over there. He has like a little hotel over there, and he was kind of corresponding with me, letting me know that they're building a military base over there now, like in Ghana now. And I always wonder if that corresponds with some of this stuff, because I'm like, this kind of reminds me of Haile Selassie when he had the issue with, he was in Ethiopia as the emperor, and then he had to go to war with Italy and stuff like that. And I don't know if it was over currency wars, but he kind of lost.
Africa, that's a great example you should bring up. That actually was the very beginning of the Second World War in so many ways. Going against Mussolini, his forces that were claiming these were old lands, Eritrea, in fact, that Italy was claiming anciently. They were trying to regain their old empire. They had lost a very severe war to their Eritreans back around the turn of the century, around 1902 or 1903. They had lost terribly, and then Italy, they took a terrible loss. It was a European country taking a terrible loss to a black nation, and Ethiopia had won that, and then they decided to try to come back when Mussolini came into power, and decided, to build their empire back again. They were going to avenge that loss to Ethiopia and reclaim these lands that they said that were theirs, and try to reclaim it. Yeah, and then actually try to reclaim those lands again, and started out with that. And yeah, Haile Selassie did come to the to the league, if you will, or to the United States and others, and was saying, hey, listen, you let these guys move on. This is going to be the beginning of a much bigger conflict, and you guys, we should stop here and back me up here, and they didn't. But at the time, Africa was looked upon as a place to be sectioned and taken out. So he didn't have any takers. But in the end, the African wars and everything else like that happened during the Second World War, and the North African conflict that ultimately that the Germans ended up losing, came all out of that. But that's true. That didn't happen. And Ethiopia still is the only country, I believe, in Africa that's never been colonized. But that was a big piece that they did not join up with them. I think now there's some differences, there's some agreements and stuff between the Russians and because Russia has played a big role in Africa and really helped to, defeat some forces of the West there. And I think some of those alliances might come through again. I think politically Africa can play this a little differently, and that was a tremendous mess up in Libya. And the French are finished. You got to finish off with these fucking frogs, man. They're done. They're sucker laid. They've been getting their ass waxed for the last 2 centuries. They're still running around here, still trying to claim shit. They're a bunch of freaking stink cheese, wine drinking sucker laids, man. Finish their ass off. They're done.
Yeah, I think the end. I think the end is near for France because
man. Finish their ass off.
If you look at the protests, you can see that there is a downward spiral of their economy. They can't afford to pay the pensions, which is what they're protesting about right now. So
yeah, but I mean, listen, black people have been lighting their funky asses up, man, since Haiti, and they've been on downward spiral ever since, and we're still propping them up. It's over. Okay, we tried to prop them up again in Vietnam. They're done, man. They're finished. So this is the end of these guys. Let these dudes die off the way they should, and be absorbed by the EU or whatever the fuck they got going over there, and let them drink their fucking French wine and do whatever the fuck. But get them up out of there, man, because they don't need to be on the continent anymore. As a colonial power, because they are neither. They're neither colonial nor they are power either. Mm-hmm. So it's time for them to go.
Yep. We got Sean with his hand up. Go ahead, Sean.
Yeah, hey, I just wanted to thanks for letting me on the panel. Peace to everybody on the panel. I just wanted to say real quick, didn't we see the same thing when Patrice Lumumba tried to do this earlier? I forgot what decade he was doing, and he was assassinated for trying to use he was assassinated for trying to use their actual minerals to back the money back.
I mean, it took Gaddafi out the same way.
Yeah. Hey, brother Nagone, I need to hear back from you. I've been sending you emails trying to get in touch with you, sir.
You sent me an email when?
Yeah, this was a couple of weeks back because you said you were going to send me your contact information. So.
Oh man. I'll
send you another one tonight.
Send me what? I'll give you my phone number and then we'll converse from there.
Appreciate it. Thank you, guys. Thank you.
All right. Yeah, I will definitely do that. I'm sorry, Sean, man. Damn, bro.
You good?
All right. All right, family. All right.
Yeah. Let me jump to this next article from Vox.com. I bought into the worst stereotypes of all Black small business owners, even after I became one. It takes work to not feed stereotypes we have about ourselves. It's going to be long. This is my first Black event, I said to the woman in the space next to me. Anxiety laced my voice as I spoke this uncomfortable truth out loud. I am Black, she is Black, and we were commiserating as Black vendors at a cultural festival. Both of us were frustrated by the lack of organization during the load-in, which was supposed to begin at 7 a.m. and didn't get going until an hour later. By 8:30, it looked like organized chaos. There was a check-in table, but also a get in where you fit in attitude as to where each vendor should set up their booth to sell their wares. The police were supposed to shut the street down at 8 a.m. That didn't happen until about 8:45. I compared this experience with how a weekly arts festival is run on another side of town. I thought, this is why I don't do Black events. That's when I caught myself. My subconscious quickly clapped back at my own prejudice, harmful internal dialogue. Aren't these the people you're trying to reach? Aren't these the people you write for? Didn't you grow up attending and supporting events like this? As I stood underneath my vending tent with my novels on display on a block where there are five thriving Black-owned brick and mortar businesses in a neighborhood that's beginning to see the slow creep of gentrification, white joggers, anyone. This is very true in Boston. I realized I held the same stereotype against the other Black business owners that someone else held against me. I felt convicted. I'm a small business owner. I am a Black woman business owner. I am independent of, I'm an independent publisher and author. All of these facts could be knocks against me as reasons why others won't, and sometimes don't support me. And yet here I was doing the same thing, even if it was only internally to another Black business owner. This event is not even organized. It's not on time. It's not well advertised. I don't even know if it will be well attended. Was it even worth the vending fee? The fact I had these thoughts to begin with was damning enough. But as I mulled over my own actions and reactions, thought processes and habits, I wondered whether a part of me had been conditioned to expect less than excellence when dealing with my own people, race, and culture. Because when I actually thought about those events on the other side of town, though they might have had more experience in organization, they were just as hectic, chaotic, and stressful. By the time the Black vendor event actually started, all was well and nearly everyone, organizers and participants, was in place, ready to have a good day. Yet I was still disturbed that I was almost ready to write off an entire event because it was different from what I was used to. I am well aware of the presumptions facing Black business owners. They are the same stereotypes memed and joked about on Black Twitter when discussing the great chicken sandwich wars of 2019 between Popeyes and Chick-fil-A. The inherent notion that a business, Black owned and Black affiliated, will automatically have poor customer service, lazy workers, inconsistent hours, and a host of other negative attributes just because of the neighborhood in which the business is located, how it serves, or the race of its owners is harmful and damaging. There is no truth to these ideas. Even if they can be applied to one business, that does not mean the generalization fits for all. Just as there is no truth to the minstrel caricatures of Black life in which we are lazy, shiftless workers who are always looking for an easy way out, who want to spend our days doing nothing but spitting watermelon seeds and drinking sweet tea. Enslaved people were considered to be lazy, intellectually inferior, and so childlike that they would not be able to manage freedom on their own, even though they built the infrastructure that made this country. And despite the fact that the plantations on which many of them labored were run like major corporations. That work is rarely, if ever, acknowledged, and contributions by Black people post-Civil War are limited to fights for freedom, athletic prowess, and great entertainment. The strides made in business and the sabotage that racism brought like Black Wall Street, really got a blip of attention outside of a blurred in academic circles. However, these false generalizations and caricatures have been force-fed to American people, Black and white, and to people around the world through cartoons, movies, and figurines, racism, and systemic oppression. I believe there has been a deliberate and sinister movement to condition people to believe the worst about Black business owners and employees. No matter how many positive examples of thriving Black-owned businesses exist, they are considered to be the exception, not the rule. Black-owned businesses experienced the largest growth among minority-owned businesses from 2002 to 2011. According to the U.S. Census Bureau in 2015, the Census Bureau reported that Black-owned firms grew nearly 35% from 2007 to 2012. And when it comes to women, they make up 38% of the Black small business owners, according to a survey from financing company Guardian. That same survey also found that lack of capital and cash flow are among the biggest challenges for Black business owners because they receive lower loan amounts than non-minority owned businesses. Yet Black buying power is expected to hit $1.5 trillion by 2021. But here's the rub. Only 3% of that buying power is spent at Black-owned businesses. In other words, I am not the only person who has ingested these stereotypes. Why are we like this? It does us no favors. With the onset of the holiday shopping season, there will be money spent by the Black community, and there is money to be made within the Black community at Black-owned businesses. Last year, Raynell Stewart, aka Supercent, founder and CEO of Black-owned cosmetics company, The Crayon Case, famously documented on social media how she made $1 million in 90 minutes on Cyber Monday. Yeah. Her success before and after that viral movement is proof that Black-owned businesses can not only compete in the marketplace, but also excel. However, the real truth is that Black-owned businesses have been competing and succeeding in the marketplace since before Madam C.J. Walker, who's often noted as the first Black female millionaire in America, revolutionized Black hair care at the turn of the 20th century. The lives and businesses of both William Leadsroff, a naval merchant, and Mary Ellen Pleasant, a boarding house operator, prove that small Black businesses were popping before the Civil War even began. And the lives and businesses of people like Elisa Price of Carol's daughter, Evita Robinson, and Nomadness Travel of the Nomadness Travel Tribe, and the Blavity CEO Morgan DeBond, as well as the aforementioned Stewart, prove that Black-owned businesses will be popping until the end of time. As for me, I plan to continue to show up as a vendor, business owner, publisher, and author in my community as much as I show up outside of it. Stereotypes and stigmas are only real if we feed into them. And with as much as buying and spending power as the Black community holds, it's well past the time to put those harmful and damaging ideations to bed. So, I mean, this is something I think a lot of people already knew. People are always trying to say that, Black businesses are run terribly. I would argue that you can say the same thing in the manosphere, that there's a lot of channels that have been run pretty terribly. And that's just the nature of the culture. And the thing is, how do you combat it?
So, my whole thing is like when I was reading, well, actually, when I was listening to you read that article and the stereotypes and how Black people kind of imagine them something going wrong before it goes wrong, and they're already having a fixated mentality that something's bad going to happen. You don't know what you're doing, or what. I'm trying to figure out, is that, and I understand where that's coming from, but I wonder if that's based on we hold too many emotions to the the people that we see that hurt us through relationships or co-workers, or I mean, because I wonder where, and you're kind of right when you said that we've been having business for quite some time, but I wonder if it's animosity. I mean, in some businesses they do have some issues, but honestly, we've been creating business so long. I'm trying to figure out what is the problem that we have with, because they were trying to hit on something and I couldn't catch. I was trying to wait for them to actually say what the problem is with Black people in the trust. That's what I think it is. It's like a trust issue. Or what is it, you think?
A lack of a Black brain trust. That's essentially what it would be. See, we don't control the financing. And so like the article says, they lack cash flow and capital investment. And so we don't have our own venture capitalists, and we don't have, what do you call it? Social equity, right? The government should be providing social equity into these places. Part of the reason why you see, other countries thriving on the U.S.'s dollar is because the U.S. puts so much money into them. Israel gets $40 billion, from the United States. What does Israel send back to the United States? They get nothing out of it. But that's the nature of it.
Because we make the best products. I mean, we creative by nature. I think we create stuff probably on a daily or weekly basis that we just don't get to monetize. We are very, very creative, probably the most creative. It's just that we don't have opportunity to monetize our stuff. We don't have financial backing. Mm-hmm. And then that trust, that, are they gonna steal from me? I guess that you start coming up with stuff in your head based on the fact that, do they have the financial backing to support the business that I'm finna give them? And I guess not, because we know that the government they do everything to not do that.
Right.
For us.
Mm-hmm. Right. And so we have to start looking at this from a, social equity, as well as a shared economics platform, right? If there should be a platform set up, through blockchain that allows us to invest into other people's Black businesses, making them shareholders into the business itself. And what that will do is it'll allow for greater investment while not dependent upon the big brick and mortar giants, the whales that keep denying Black people access to capital, or gives them a higher interest rate on their loans for businesses. I think what happens here is that we're not really thinking about this from a technical standpoint. How do we take $1.5 trillion of spending power and drive that back into Black business investment? I mean, why are we spending it on consumer goods rather than reinvesting it into entrepreneurship? I think if we created a platform that allowed people to showcase their their startup or their business, because I think every business that has a website should be considered a startup. Put that out there, and then people can invest into it, and then they're basically buying shares through something like a tokenization on the blockchain. That becomes a game changer, because now the business is now fully invested by Black people, and then it can actually be leveraged into a marketplace through a social media app that allows us to buy directly from our people. So there's a lack of innovation there. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I don't got nothing on that one, because I just know that we're very creative. It's just that I think we're also scared of each other as far as to invest in each other. It seems like I can't put my finger. I don't know if it's emotional based on things that people that look like you did to you, and then you're like, I can't trust you based on these other people you've never seen that did something to me. And I'm looking at, and of course, like you said, like a conglomerate system where like the Asians, something like, hey, you got the make this money circulate so many times before it even leave as like some kind of like guideline or a life structure. Like you cannot get your food outside our Asian market. You cannot get your shoes outside this. You have to do this, or and if we find that you do it, we're gonna punish you. I don't know. I don't know if that's what we have to do.
Yeah, let me get to the next article from TechCrunch. This is the last one on the docket. Diversity-focused VC fund Harlem Capital debuts with $40 million. Harlem Capital has upgraded from angel syndicate to full-fledged venture capital fund, closing its debut effort on an oversubscribed $40.3 million. The firm was launched by managing partners Henry Pierre Jacques and Jared Tingle in New York City's Harlem neighborhood in 2015. The pair have since graduated from Harvard Business School and hired two venture partners, Brandon Bryant and John Henry, and two senior associates to help expand their portfolio. The overarching goal: invest in 1,000 diverse founders over the next 20 years. We fundamentally believe we are a venture fund with impact, not impact fund. Pierre Jacques tells TechCrunch, the way we generate impact is to give women and minority entrepreneurs ownership. Capital from Harlem Capital Partners Venture Fund One, an industry agnostic vehicle that invests in post-revenue business across the U.S., will be used to lead, co-lead, and participate in $250,000 to $1 million seed or Series A financing. To date, the team has backed 14 companies, including business-to-business feminine hygiene product Aunt Flo, gig economy marketplace Jobble, and pet wellness platform Wagmo. Harlem Capital plans to add another 22 businesses to Fund One. With its first fund close, Harlem Capital becomes one of the largest venture capital funds with a diversity mandate. Despite an increasing amount of punishing data exposing the gender and race gap in venture capital, minority founders continue to rake in just a small percentage of funding each year. According to a Rate My Investor and Diversity Venture Capitalist report released earlier this year, most venture capitalist dollars are invested in companies run by white men with a university degree. Other recent data indicates startups founded exclusively by women raised just 2.2% of overall venture capital funding in 2018, with numbers on pace to increase only slightly in 2019. Meanwhile, the median amount of funding raised by Black female founders as of 2018 was $0. Not getting no money. The stark contrast in funding for female versus male entrepreneurs, or white women versus Black women founders, is in part a result of lack of diversity amongst general partners at venture capital funds and amongst the limited partners that choose which venture capital funds to provide capital. While there's little data available on diversity of LPs, 81% of venture capitalist firms didn't have a single Black investor as of 2018. There's no rational reason why this problem exists, Tingle tells TechCrunch. It persists because venture capitalist funds in general have been closely held and clustered around Silicon Valley. They come from a particular school with particular networks with a small headcount that doesn't turn over frequently. Some firms have strategically added a few partners here and there, but not enough to change the organization. You need diversity funds like ourselves to get this market anywhere close to parity. A lot of investors are frankly missing out on opportunities, Tingle adds. Having met through the Management Leadership for Tomorrow program, a nonprofit organization identifying a new generation of leadership, Tingle and Pierre Jacques have built a prolific internship program at the firm. With as many as 6 interns admitted each quarter, the goal is to train future investors of color. Limited partners in Harlem Capital Partners Fund One include TPG Global, State of the Michigan Retirement Systems, the Consumer Technology Association, and Dorm Room Fund. It's very interesting, man. I think that there's a lot of opportunity that's going to come from microfinancing. Microfinancing is one of the biggest ways to actually invest into a person's small, medium business. Microfinancing goes from anywhere like $50 up to $50,000. So we start thinking on that level. It's the small investments that matter, which is what I was saying earlier. That we need to leverage the technology that's coming out now: blockchain, cloud computing, 5G network infrastructure, artificial intelligence, machine learning. All of these things are staples in how we can leverage it to better invest into Black businesses. I think that this Harlem Capital, though, is pretty dope. I'd be interested in seeing more information about what they do going forward. If they're talking about 1,000 diverse businesses, although I would prefer that they invest into Black businesses, they always seem to use very liberal, feminist jargon to actually identify their specific target. So,
well, they tend to do that, kind of soften things so it doesn't look, because they know if you just talk to about just strictly black men or whatever, people are going to try to look at that unfavorably. So they use that to kind of hide, to kind of hide a little, to hide the game a little bit. Well, not hide. I mean, to make it, make it less offensive to some. I don't know for the better word, but that's how I would look at it. But there are a lot of things going on at home right now. One of my fraternity brothers, a real sharp cat, they got an investment group and, buying up a lot of brownstones and so forth. There's a lot of stuff going on right now. And that's why I love the community so much. That's why I'm part of it. But a lot of stuff is going on there. And it's a kind of a battleground. I'm going to say this as well, because you have a lot of mayonnaise folks moving there, and they want to take this back over again. And that's where the fight is. It's a quiet one, and it's an economic one all the way.
Mm-hmm.
So they don't want. So you have to use. No, I don't even know. I don't even want to respond because that threw me off. That just threw me off when they kept talking about the whole. I guess when I summarize it, I'm like, yo, this part is good, that part good. You keep coming back to that woman part, and I'm thinking, so we gotta. And I had thought about this not too long ago about my business. I was like, so I'm gonna have to put a woman as the front while I play the back, just so we can get and to get what you were saying. You said it kind of comes off offensive if you put a man as the front leader, or the narrative is like, is you just generalize it. They just say we generalize it and you don't put women up there. That's bad. Because I don't think, in respect to all the women who are entrepreneurs, but women don't really honor money. They use it, but men honor it because we're taught this. And women, Black women don't make good business women. I'm sorry. I know I'm bad.
I don't know if I would be so quick to jump out the window and say that. I mean, they make up 2/3 of your spending within your community. You would,
They spend, but they don't say. My mom works in a loan office, and she can't. But you're right. Let me pause on that.
It doesn't matter if they don't say it. It's what the demographics are, right? So you have to be targeting your demographics from a business perspective. You can't worry about whether or not they're saving their money in the 401k or a high yield savings account. That's almost irrelevant from a business standpoint. But if you're trying to be a venture capitalist, you would have to try to garner that demographic as well. So
and that's what people use it for. It's a method. It's a tool, if you will, to be used. So if you use it intelligently, you can work with it. But yeah, you have to look at what the realities are on the ground in some respects, and that's what's kind of going on.
But yeah, I don't. How much time do you spend in Harlem? Going, you're from New York.
Yeah. Well, I'm in Harlem quite a bit. I'll be there tomorrow. I'll be there Sunday. I'll be there Tuesday. I'll be there Wednesday. I've called you from the scene a few times. I was walking down the street and had some icy hot stunners hit me up for some money as well. on the street in Harlem. I see hot stunners. Mike knows what they are. Walking up to me, asking me, "Yeah, man, can you give me a few dollars? I'm having a little." I'm like, "What?" They bold. They bold. They bold. Damn, in Harlem, asking a brother for some dough. Hey. Oh yeah, Vay.
Yeah, I think this is the start on the right track. I mean, I know there's other Black investment firms, but there's nothing really catering to the common everyday Main Street guy, or the Main Street person. For whatever reason, there's a disdain. But the last article we read about not trusting Black businesses and not trusting Black or events and things of that nature, how it's unorganized, it's janky, it's not really trustworthy. A lot of that is the colonized mind. You know, a lot of people want to fight white supremacy by doing this, and that, but having not really decolonized their mind first.
Facts.
You want to fight white supremacy from a physical standpoint, but don't really understand that you are not, you only, a few fries short of a Happy Meal yourself. So
yeah, these are facts. And I was talking to one of my friends over who's over at this Black Bank Carver. He says that their account openings of more and more Black people are going up precipitously. So somehow the word is kind of getting out to a lot of folks. Maybe we should be further investing with our own. And I think at a certain level, maybe what's going on with respect to the government and the White House and some of this other stuff, some people are seeing that they may have to start looking at this game a little bit differently. But that's going on as well. So like I said, I know there's some good things going on, and it's not all peaches and cream, that's for sure. But we're not all sleeping or laying or out to lunch like many might think.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think there's a lot of opportunity that can come out of this, man. That's something I really need to do a whiteboard session on how we can actually make something like that work on an open source platform. I think that will be actually pretty dope, especially with all this fintech going around. A lot of moving pieces are starting to come onto the chessboard now, but I think come 2020, you'll start to see a lot more. You start to see a lot more maturation come with blockchain and artificial intelligence and cryptocurrencies and tokenization, tokens and things of that nature coming on board. And how do you invest into a small Black business from a microfinance standpoint, making people tie themselves into the system so that you don't feel like you're being ripped off. You put money into someone's school, the school is never built, you got to run around, get the rent, ring a remote. We don't got time for that anymore, man. This is, come 2020, it's going to be either you get right or you get left, man. So. Let me see what the see what the market is doing real quick. All right, Ethereum is sitting at $7,549.73. Oh, actually, sorry, that's Bitcoin sitting at $7,549.73. Ethereum sitting at $149.11. XRP is trading at 22 cents. Bitcoin Cash is moving at $213.43. Litecoin is moving at $45.57. It's interesting to see Litecoin bounce up and down like that. I remember the bottom of Litecoin was like $22 or something like that last year. Then it shot back up to like $107. Now it's back down to $45. So, and V chain is moving at 71 or less than 71 cents on the dollar. Zcash is moving at $29.67. Yeah, that's it. I mean, there's nothing really groundbreaking right now. My take on cryptos is this. A crypto moving way past Apple stock prices or gold, the price of gold is not really viable for me to purchase. Anything below that makes sense. Anything above that does not make sense for me. I'm not a certified financial planner. If you want a certified financial planner, go to cfp.net and look up one in your area. I'm not giving out any financial advice. I'm just giving my opinion. My opinion here is that a cryptocurrency moving above gold and moving above Apple stock is not worthy of purchase for me. I wouldn't spend $7,500 on a crypto. I would rather put that into gold or another form of stock, such as an Apple or a Amazon or a Google stock. So that is my take on that. I don't know Richard Victor Dixon here. I think he's busy watching the Cowboys get stomped out in Dallas. All right, man. We're gonna get out of here, man. Thank you all for joining us. Please hit the like button if you've not already done so. Share the video if possible. Also hit that notification bell so you get all the updates from the Black Brain Trust, including those posted on the community tab. Docket and description beneath the video for you to follow along with. Make sure y'all check out the articles in your spare time for those watching the replay. Peace and shalom.
Hey, Mike, I'm hit you up.